Welcome to Leadership and Life Chat with your hosts, me, Becky Ames.
And me, Mark Curtis. In each episode, we'll be illustrating how success in leadership is inextricably linked with success in life.
Whether it's leadership in business, society, family or friends, we're all leaders.
Using our experiences and a range of expert guests, we'll share secrets to boosting your health, wealth and self.
So let's get on with the show.
It seems to me that business is now entering a new phase. In the past, it used to be all about you could be reactive in the delivery of your products and service, and then it moved into proactive. Proactive became the thing in the 1990s and beyond. And now it feels like with the advent of AI and new technologies, we're moving into a predictive society where you have to always be ahead of the curve at what your customers want, what your staff want. So Becky, today, I'd like to take a look at how do we shift to a predictive business from a proactive business, and what impact is this going to have on us as business leaders, our teams and our customers?
Yeah, well, that sounds really interesting. I mean, we are having to shift, aren't we? Because everything's moving so fast and we'll just get left behind if we're just trying to be proactive. We really are having to think differently and really, be in that predictive state, as you say, and use all the tools we have available to us. So yeah, really good to chat around this.
And I saw a presentation actually where this was the topic, and I thought, really interesting. And if we put it into the context of, say, our business, we're accountants by trade, and business advisors. And in the dim and distant past, clients had manual records, and then they moved on to things like Sage and such like, and you could start to maybe look at some of the data a bit better, and you could it was only maybe 3 months out of date instead of a year out of date by the time you got to talk to the client about it. But now, with the advent of the cloud accounting products and the two biggies in the world, things like Xero and QBO, some of the AI which is being built into those products and the bolt-on apps now is starting to get predictive. We've got to start look at what's coming up for clients because of what the tech is telling us, and that's going on in our sector, which has been a traditionally slow-paced, old-fashioned sector. If you follow the stereotypical views of it. And I think if it's affecting us, it's going to affect every business out there. And we need to start thinking, okay, proactive is no longer good enough. Predictive is where it's going to have to go to, because if we're not doing it, then other businesses are going to be doing it. But not only that, the tech is going to be doing it as well. And I think this is a massive topic. And we had a recent episode with Alex Rubsum and Alison Alexander, who are metaverse and AI experts. And we covered a lot in that episode. And I'm sure we'll touch on some of that again today. But I think today, Becky, it's very much around, well, if predictive is where it's going, how are we going to do it? What kind of things do we have to look out for as businesses to remain relevant when we have to start accepting that the old proactive is no longer good enough? How scary is that? It doesn't seem long ago it's like, you've got to be proactive, not reactive. And now it's like, oh wow, proactive is like so last year. We've got to be predictive now. It's pretty scary, isn't it? But it's happening, and we know it's already happening in our personal lives when we're using social media and such like. That is predictive.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think we've also, had time to digest a bit of what we talked about with Alex and Alison as well, and think about how we relate that back to our roles and our businesses. So I think there's some great stuff that we can draw out here today about how we make this stuff work for us and how we really harness it to make sure that we're there at the forefront and using it in the right way.
Yeah, Becky, so I think we're coming into this episode with an element of trepidation because we're like, oh, this is pretty scary stuff, having to look at predictive, but it's important. So if we're looking at it, then it means other people should be as well, in my opinion, because we're middle-aged. We're middle-aged, Becky. If we're concerned about this, then other people should be as well. So what do you reckon? What is the first thing we should really think about on this?
Well, you know me, I'm a bit of I can be a bit cynical about all of this stuff, and my initial thought is, why should we use it? But I know, really, I just like to play devil's advocate. But why would we be using AI in our business? And I guess the main reason is that if we don't, we're going to get left behind, isn't it? You know, if we don't embrace and really get on board with this stuff and make sure we've got the skill sets in our business to be able to drive this and start the conversation or allow the conversation to develop, we're going to get left behind. And it means we're not going to be able to be predictive, and our competitors will in every area of business.
Mm. And I guess it's sort of looking at trends, a lot of it, isn't it? Because if you think about how the predictive technology are impacting on us as consumers, it's kind of it's predicting what it is we might buy. So
Mm.
it's helping businesses identify what our buying needs might be. So when we're shopping online, you get all these recommendations. I don't understand how it all works. It's not my specialist area at all. But all I know is I talk about something in the house, and then the next time I go onto something, it's kind of flashing up and it's telling me I'm going to buy it and stuff. Really scary. So some of this is predicting, like, based on past buying habits, etc., etc. So if we then put ourselves in our business mindset, then we can be proactively talking to our clients about what they might need. But with the best will in the world, time is probably the thing which most business leaders would say, if you could create one thing, what would it be? And it would probably be more time. That's the one thing we
Mm.
all seem to be sure of. It seems to me that this predictive technology using AI buys back time for people, because it can help you still deliver the proactive service through predicting what your customers and your clients and your employees, your team, what they might need. So we can use this to kind of shortcut things for time, so we can actually
Yeah.
focus on the really important stuff rather than doing all of the legwork. Back in the day, to be proactive with a client, we would have to go and have a coffee with them or a meeting with them. And that's it's valuable and it's time consuming as well, and it might be diminishing returns. Whereas if the AI is analyzing what our customers are up to, it means we can be very focused and targeted with how we choose to spend our time then.
Yeah. And our clients are in the same position, aren't they? You know, their time is hugely valuable. So we want to make sure that we're able to give them value and utilize that time as best we can. And yeah, we need to be using this stuff because it does provide us the shortcuts. It means that we can be far more efficient in how we use the data that is now available to us. And really engage with it and identify all of the different ways that we could take our business forward and help our clients take theirs forward. Really, when you think about it in that respect, you think that there's no reason not to do it. And I think if you have people that understand it and allow those people to develop their understanding, because for a lot of people this is still new and scary and wouldn't know where to start. But there's plenty of us out there, not me, I have to say, but who are really, really into this stuff and can blow your mind with what they can do with it. And we've identified people in our own business that have an interest and therefore really want to drive. And you have to be curious, don't you, about what the potential is and where it could go. And I think that's the difference. It's about finding those individuals in your business and allowing them the time to really sort of run with it and go, what could it be? What could it help us achieve? Because at the moment it is a lot of it is unknown. It could go anywhere, so you've got to explore that and see what the opportunities are.
Yeah, and I had an example yesterday. My car broke down on Sunday, and I had to phone up. It's a Volvo. Volvos never break down. I must be the unluckiest person in the world. Anyway, I phoned up. I phoned up like Volvo Assist or whatever it is, the breakdown, and this person answered the phone. Well, I say this person answered the phone. They introduced themselves as my like AI virtual assistant. So I wasn't actually speaking to a person. I was speaking to effectively a piece of AI.
Oh gosh.
And it sounded like a normal person. And it was asking me queries about what had happened to the car and what situation I was in. And off the back of that, it was predicting what I needed. So I needed a breakdown recovery, but actually my car was at home, so I wasn't in any danger. I wasn't on the edge of a motorway. So it was predicting what I needed, and then getting in touch with the breakdown recovery company to come and collect my car. So there's a great example of technology in action, and it took the heavy work out of it, and it predicted what I needed, and it was spot on. It knew exactly what I
Yeah.
needed from however the
Yeah.
algorithms are based on that program, so there was a practical example yesterday of something working in practice, and I've heard other examples before of how it will be used in the future, especially in, say, the medical profession. So you go and see your GP, and well, if you in the UK, if you can actually ever go and see your GP, it seems to be a bit difficult at the moment. But if you did get in front of a GP, that person who you're in front of they only know what they know. They have their medical training, and that's it. I'm not belittling that, but they're limited in their knowledge. And they were saying that actually, if you take AI, if you were sitting in front of a piece of AI, it would be able to read all your biometrics, which a human can't do without the use of various diagnostic equipment. So the AI could actually read all your physiological signs. So it would know, okay, this is normal, this is outside a normal range, blah, blah, blah. Also, it can ask you what your symptoms are, and then it can run a check on like every known piece of medical research ever, including the most cutting edge stuff, which only came out yesterday, and it can make a diagnosis. And some of the studies that I've looked at, which I read about, the AI has been far more successful, has a higher success rate of predicting what is going on and what needs to be done than the human equivalents, even top consultants in the world. So you start looking at this and you think, okay, if you start putting in the context of how we can use it in our business, it is about servicing the needs of our customers better. It's not about replacing
Yeah.
people, but it's about using it when it can make a real difference for our customers. Now, clearly, medical, it's really, really important because it's ultimately, it could be life or death. So why wouldn't we use it? But then the scary bit is, if a doctor can be replaced by AI, then it's almost like, what is safe. But hey, maybe there's a combo, you work alongside it. So I think as humans we can be very proactive. I think it's much harder for a human probably to be predictive, where the technology
Yeah.
is much better at running algorithms to be predictive. And I think this is where I'm trying to get my head around as a business leader, which is I don't want to replace people because I like dealing with people most of the time. I like most people most of the time. There's a few, there always is, isn't there? But ultimately, I'm a social animal. That's what I am. I'm a person. I'm a human being. And as much as it pains me, I do realize that we all have to look at where AI can improve customer service. It's about how do we deliver the best service to our customers.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely, the challenge is that people see it as a threat, don't they? Because is it going to replace people? And obviously, AI cannot replace human empathy and that human interaction. So it is about harnessing the positives and the benefits, and that basically makes us, like you say, there could be medical research released yesterday that the consultant isn't even aware of yet, and the AI will have all that information. So it's the timeliness and being as up to date as it possibly can, and in that context, there's so much great stuff if you think about how it could really benefit the business and our customers. Absolutely. And how we then use that and deliver it to our customers is probably far more where the human aspect comes in, isn't it? In terms of understanding their needs and really communicating with them on that. So there's absolutely a place for both, I think is what I've concluded, because I am one of those people that's like, oh, it's going to replace all the people. But no, I can see how it can really help us do what we do. And like you say, time is our biggest challenge. Every person in business will say that, I think. And if you could find more time, then that's great. And I think that's what AI is going to do for us, allowing us to stay at the forefront of where we need to be.
Yeah, and I think I think I've kind of said it, but if I was going to summarize it into a better soundbite, it's probably my view is humans can be proactive, but it's very challenging for a human to be predictive because we don't have that
Yeah.
algorithmic kind of processing capacity within our brains, which AI does. So if we want to continue, if we want to be proactive but deliver the predictive advice and support to our customers and clients, we've got to embrace the AI to allow us to do it. And again, if we don't, if we all choose to ignore it, then competitors in our various sectors won't, and therefore we are going to have to be very niche to still have a place in that sector if we don't embrace this, because other people will, and it will become more mainstream as we go forward. So this isn't about necessarily being cutting edge, but it is about, I have to recognize my limits as a human being. I can be proactive, but I don't think I can be predictive. I can have a guess, but that's all it would be. It's not going to be based on running like billions of computational like checks on something. I'm just not going to be able to do that. And Alex said
No.
actually we shouldn't. I think one of the things she said in the episode was we shouldn't lower ourselves to the low and common denominator. We are more than that as human beings. If the AI can do it really well, then just accept the tech does it. We're more than that still.
Oh yeah, completely. And I think it basically adds on an element of, like you say, we can guess what might happen, but this allows us to have far more certainty or understanding of what's going to happen, and therefore we can be proactive with that information, whereas otherwise we're being proactive, on a best guess kind of thing. So it's ever improving our understanding. So it's using those tools to increase our capability, isn't it, in terms of finding those solutions for our clients or whatever it may be. For me, it's about using it carefully, but that's what we're going to come on and talk about in the next couple of points, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah. So I think we've made a clear case in our own minds. We've convinced ourselves, if no one else, that we have to embrace this if we want to be able to be, if we want to move into the
Yeah.
predictive realm where the world seems to be moving into. So that's why we've got to do it. And I think we gave some examples of things we've both seen in, and we've read about where this comes to life. So I think my case is made on that one. But as you say, the next side of it has got to be the other little voice sitting on the other shoulder, which is saying, yeah, but this is dangerous, isn't it? There's got to be some dangers with this. What are the dangers, Becky? What do we think the dangers? You and I, what do we think the dangers are around this?
So my simple brain, as it is in terms of tech, the danger for me is that the AI is just taking all of the information that it's gathered and is predicting on that basis. So it's going to have bias, because if we're only exposing ourselves to the same influences, information, social media channels, whatever it may be, that's going to have a bias which the algorithm's going to pick up, and then they're going to predict our behaviors based on that. So for me, that's the biggest challenge. It's going to make assumptions, and it doesn't take into account the variances, the extremes, the human ability to pivot fairly quickly and go off at a tangent and do something else. So I think if we get drawn into the fact that it must be the right answer that the AI is giving us, then that's where we could fall down. I think we need to be responsible in understanding what it's telling us and how it's reaching that conclusion.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's probably the bit that scares me the most, which is, and we were chatting about this before we hit record today, and this is Minority Report, the Tom Cruise film, where effectively, based on the predictive nature of what is happening, people get jailed for crimes that they're going to commit in the future, and I think the danger with all of this is it is only a prediction, and like I just think about every time I read like the letters from my financial advisor, it's always like, historic performance is no predictor of the future and all this. And it's like, okay, so it's only ever a prediction. No one is ever going to nail their colours to the mast, like, I don't know, horse racing. It might be, you might have an odds on favourite, but it's only a prediction of what might happen.
Yeah.
The future is to be unfolded as it moves into the present. There is no such thing as the future, so we don't know it's going to happen until it becomes the present, and it's here now. So yeah, that's the bit that worries me, that it could just become like too predictive and people take that as fact. That does concern me. And
Yeah.
I was listening to another podcast where they were talking about this, and certainly in America they were saying that there's, it's pretty much accepted that the algorithms around certain things will look at statistical trends. It's what algorithms tend to do. And there was things like, I don't know, if you order ice cream from, I don't know, Uber Eats or whatever at a certain time of night, it means you've got, I don't know, marital difficulties or something going on. Therefore, the algorithm predicts that you're going to be a more unstable person at work, and therefore you're less likely to get employed. So it's like, and things like that. I think that is so scary, so scary.
Mm.
So you
Mm.
end up, if you're not careful, we end up narrowing the what is normal. And as soon as you narrow what's normal, people have to they have to kind of conform within those normalities. If they don't, then algorithms somewhere are going to be predicting something about those people, and it's going to have an impact on stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think about, like, I don't know, insurance companies for when we
Yeah.
insure our cars or something. If they start using, which I'm sure they probably do already, I don't know, but let's assume they use algorithms now and in the future, especially if we've all got black boxes in our car, which we tend to have because they're all computers anyway. Imagine if it kind of had these normal boundaries that people who drive between, like, hours of 8 and 6, 8 in the morning to 6 at night, are statistically more likely to or less likely to, and then but people who drive between the hours of X and Y are statistically more likely to, because they're probably going to be drink drivers, blah blah blah, or whatever. I'm making it up as I go along, clearly. And suddenly the algorithms are going, because you drive at these hours, you're a much
Mm.
higher risk, and therefore, so it might be you just happen to work, you
Yeah.
work at night, it might be your job, do you know what I mean? And it's like, soon as we end up with too much, like, drill down into what is normal, by definition, you're going to end up with a population of people who fall outside of what is normal, and they will be discriminated against because of the algorithm. So that kind of, that worries me a little bit as well, because it's almost. I think I'm going to link this back to a previous episode we did on creativity, which is actually, creativity is almost about doing something which is outside of the normal, because you do something different to get a different result. If we start kind of driving people into almost feeling they have to conform with normality, otherwise they are going to get discriminated against in whatever that might mean, do we
Mm.
also do we suppress the creativity process in businesses as well?
Potentially. So you're saying that if we don't behave like the majority, which the algorithm is measuring, which is assessing, then we're going to be basically, you know, looked at differently, and that could be a risk. So then we all end up conforming to the behaviours that is the majority.
Yeah.
That's scary, isn't
I
it?
think it probably happens to an extent now, doesn't it?
I think so. I mean, I guess there is the whole thing about AI is the creator and it is leading you, so it changes your behavior. And I think, yeah, that does happen. And that's again where we need to be really conscious, isn't it, about what we are doing, what we're exposing ourselves to, and social media particularly, because it can just be an echo chamber, can't it? We were saying that if you just follow certain stuff, then they'll just feed you more of the same dialogue, and you'll just become, whether it's political views or whatever it is, you'll just be fed more that supports your views, because that's what you're looking at. And that, you have to be conscious of that. I think that's what I always come back to, about you need to understand how that's working to then be skeptical of it, if that's the right terminology. That this stuff can be really powerful and really beneficial, but need to understand how it's come to be, and also how sometimes humans need to intervene, don't they, in this, to make it make sense. Alex used the example when we were doing the podcast with Alex and Alison about the traffic monitoring AI. When we went into lockdown for COVID, a human had to basically switch it off, because if it had continued, it would have completely skewed the results, because the norm would have become no traffic, and that would have just given a ridiculous result, because the AI didn't know that we'd all had to change our behaviours. So that became the new norm, kind of thing. So it's all about, for me, it's about, this stuff's great and it's got so much potential for us, but we need to understand how it comes to be, so that we can intervene if we need to, or be skeptical if we need to, be responsible if we need to.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and reiterates the point Alex made, which is, human in the loop on this stuff. So, so we know that there's some great stuff this can do for our businesses. This was all about how do we move into the predictive age when that seems to be the general trend, and we've kind of, we know why we've got to do it, how it can be beneficial for our
Mm.
businesses. We understand now the dangers that it can bring as well, and how we need to be aware as business owners. We can't just put blind faith in this stuff. We've got to still, comes back to the book we've talked about loads on here, the Jocko Willink book, Extreme Ownership. We still have to take the ownership of this. We can't just go, oh, well, it was the algorithm. No, not good enough. It's like saying, oh, it's just a member of the team. Not good enough. We've got
Yeah,
to take ownership of this stuff still.
yeah, yeah. I think for me, that's fundamental. We have got to be responsible in how we use it, and we can't just go, it wasn't me. Um, we can't be led by the AI.
Becky, what would our third point be around this topic?
I think really it's about how this is going to become part of everyone's role, isn't it? And it's not something that just the techie guys over there are doing, and how we weave that into our business, and that people understand that really. You can't probably ignore it, and how much you engage with it, I appreciate, will vary hugely. Some people, this is their bag and they're going to run with it and be the real innovators, but you can't just say it's that team over there doing it. It's something that's going to impact on every aspect of your business, from marketing through to how we deliver our client service. Every aspect is going to be affected. Our own systems, particularly in most businesses, I would suggest. So yeah, for me, it's going to be part of everyone's role, and it's recognizing that as leaders and how we influence that shift in thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Becky. The dim and distant past, it's always been like IT, hasn't it? And we've thought about computers and technology as just IT, the IT department, whether it be in your own business
Yeah.
or outsourced. And it suddenly, I don't know if this is the right language, but it's almost like in the past, IT was just, like a function. And it's like your computer didn't work, you phoned up the IT department, oh, I can't log in this morning. That was almost like IT. This is now beyond that, isn't it? This is now, AI is not just IT; it's something much bigger. I know this sounds like blindingly obvious, but it's much bigger than that, isn't it? And I think as business leaders, we really have to get our head around, as you were saying, that this isn't a department, this isn't a function. This is a living, breathing part of what we do within our business, and it just, the tentacles spread out through absolutely everything we do. So the one thing that I think we've just all got to avoid as business owners is kind of becoming very silo on this.
Mm.
It doesn't matter how big or small your business is, whether these are internal functions or external functions, they've all got to be, the communication channels for me have just got to become much slicker, more fluid, and much clearer. And people have really got to talk to each other. I think the biggest danger for most businesses, they go down the silo route. The left hand won't know what the right hand is talking about, and more importantly,
Yeah.
it'll waste time and it won't complement either. So I think we really have to focus on how we look at AI and technology wrapping around all of our business, and how we keep all of those interconnected parts aligned and moving together nicely.
Yeah, and it impacts on everything, doesn't it? No longer can you have a committee for one thing and a committee for another thing, and they don't, they kind of just run along next to each other. It's going to be all woven together, and somehow those communication channels have got to really work so that everyone's got an awareness of what's going on and how it's going to happen and what the impact is going to be. And I think as leaders, for us to continuously drip feed that language, that messaging, and keep reiterating the importance of it, and the opportunities it brings is so important, because as we've said a few times, there's going to be some people that are going to be really up for this. They're going to be running with it. They've got they're naturally interested. They're intrigued. They want to be at the forefront. There's others that aren't going to be on the bus yet, perhaps, but we've all got to get there. We've all got to engage with this and understand it to an extent to make sure that we're using all the great benefits that it can bring us in terms of time and efficiency and being predictive, as we've said.
Mm. And I think this then comes back to innovative, creative thinking, doesn't it? So,
Mm.
in the part, it's about posing the right questions to ourselves as well as leaders. So it's almost like, how do I service my clients as best I can? How do I make sure that they are getting the services that they really need and would benefit from. And in the past, we'd have said, right, okay, get your list of top 20 clients, make sure you phone them up once a month. And maybe that's where we challenge ourselves as business leaders, which is, no, that's not the go-to anymore. So what we do is we talk to the people who are really bought into AI and the functionality and what it can achieve for us. And we're like, right, okay, how do we deliver the best client service based on this? And they'll come up with a very different answer to, you need to phone your top 20 clients once a month. They'd come up, well,
Yeah.
actually, what we could do is we could set up an algorithm to monitor this, da, 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 da. So I think we just have to, I think we have to ask the questions in different ways, and we have to ask the questions to different people as well, because we'll get very different answers if we're going to move into the predictive arena and away from just the purely proactive arena.
Yeah. And it is shifting our thinking to question how we do probably most of our tasks in our business, isn't it? And going, could we do this differently? And that's takes effort, and it takes energy, and it means that, we can't just do the day job as we've always done it. But we keep coming back to the benefits could be huge. But I think that inquiring mind is really important, and as leaders, that's our role, to encourage that and to demonstrate that we're doing that. Of why do we do it this way? Could we do it a different way? How could we be doing this going forwards? And keep asking the questions. And someone, like you say, those people who are really, really running with this stuff, they will have some great answers for us, some great suggestions of what we could do. We've seen it ourselves in our business. It literally blows my mind when they show me what we can do. And it allows you to then go, right, okay, so where could we take this? But if you don't even open yourself up to that, you're never going to get those opportunities. So I think it's exciting. It really is exciting. It shouldn't be scary. I think we just need to make sure we're all on the journey and informing ourselves and understanding what it could be and how it could help us. For me, that means that I feel then able to go, okay, let's give this a go. Let's see where it takes us, and let's really engage and see where we go.
Definitely. Well, thank you for that, Becky. I think we've covered some interesting ground there. We are very much coming at this from a layperson, how it's like how we feel about it as well. Because we're caught up in this as much as anyone else out there in the world. And so this was very much around that sort of evolution of business from reactive to proactive to what now appears to be the new norm, which is predictive. And the predictive is very much around embracing AI and the technology, which is becoming more mainstream, literally by the minute. We covered 3 points today. The first one was, well, why is it so important to business? And we gave some examples about why we need to be considering this, probably whatever business we're in, and if we don't, how it would become a real block from moving from proactive to predictive. We then actually said, well, hang on a minute, we need to take a bit of a rain check with this, because it's not all, it's not all like flower meadows and daisies here. There's some potential downsides of this. So what are the potential downsides, and what are the risks we could run into if we're not consciously aware of what we're doing with this? So we covered on some of those, and we obviously got a film reference in around Minority Report. None of us want to get to that point. It is only a prediction, as we said. It doesn't mean it's going to become reality. It's just a prediction. So let's kind of base it on what it is, and keep that in context. And the third point was very much around, well, how do we do business slightly different? How do we integrate and weave this into our businesses, and not just say, oh, it's that department over there? How do we still take ownership as leaders on this and make sure that it weaves through the fabric of what we do in a controlled and beneficial way for everyone involved? So hopefully there's some real value for the listeners there. It's a learning journey. I'm sure there's going to be other episodes in the future around this, because this whole side of things is evolving so quickly. It's kind of like every day there's something new. So we're just trying to kind of put a bit of a line in the sand, say, okay, this is where we see it for most businesses outside of big tech businesses in 2023. Hopefully there's some value there. Links in the show notes as always. I'm sure Lizzie will put a link into Minority Report, because we know producer Lizzie is a film buff, and any other useful links will be there as well. If you did enjoy today's show, then please rate and review us on your platform of choice. If you can leave us a 5-star rating, then it really does help other people find the show. And finally, a massive thank you to our sponsors, Larkin Gowan. Without Larkin Gowan, this show would not be possible. So take a look at the link to their website to see how their team of experts can help you and your business. Thanks for tuning in today. Have a great week. And remember, be kind to yourself and boost your health, wealth, and self.